Hi friends, I welcome you all to my YouTube channel Research Updates and myself Dr. B. Sendal Kumar. In this video, today you are going to see author metrics. The author metrics includes various indices like H index, G index, E index and so on. We have to have a clear-cut idea about these indices and how it is calculated for author metrics. Now let us see the overview of the presentation. First we'll see about some basic terminologies which is used in author metrics, followed by the citation metrics and citation analysis. Then we'll see in detail about author metrics and the various author metrics including H index, G index and i10 index which are most commonly used, followed by M index and E index, and there is also popularity indices, and we'll see the other indices, that is SC index and S index. Finally, we'll see what are all the facts to remember for author metrics. With this overview of the presentation, we just move on to the basic terminologies. The first basic terminologies is index. An index is a method to track the performance of some groups of assets in a standardized way. Coming on to the citation. Citation is a reference of the sources of information used in your research. H index. H index is a number of papers on a list of publication ranked in descending order by the time cited that have n or more number of citations. Coming on to the G index. G index is the H index for an average count of citations. i10 index. When an author have 10 or more than 10 citations, it is calculated as i10 index. E index. It is the square root of the surplus of citation in the H set beyond H square. Coming on to the M index. One's H index divided by the number of years one has been publishing. And next we'll see about the citation metrics. Citation metrics includes journal metrics, author metrics, article level metrics. In this video, we are going to focus only on author metrics. This citation metrics is a kind of bibliographic index or so-called bibliometrics. The extent to which a research paper or an academic text is cited in other pieces of academic works, either it can be of a papers or thesis, dissertation or other texts. Citation analysis involves counting the number of times an article is cited by other works to measure the impact of a publication or an author. Coming on to the citation analysis by databases, there are three important databases: Web of Science, Scopus and Google Scholar. Web of Science provides citation counts for articles indexed within it. It indexes over 10,000 journals in the arts, humanities, science and social sciences. Whereas Scopus provides citation counts for articles indexed within it. It indexes over 15,000 journals across the disciplines. Coming on to Google Scholar, Google Scholar provides citation counts for articles found within Google Scholar. There are also other databases which gives a citation analysis like Sinahil, CSA Illumina databases which include social service abstract, sociology abstract, worldwide political science abstract. EBSCO-HOS database, it includes academic search complete, communication and mass media complete and historical abstracts. Other than this, Embase, PubMed Central, Science Direct and Science Finder Scholar, all these are also giving citation analysis. Coming on to this author metrics. Author metrics are used to track how often an author work is cited and demonstrated the reach and impact of a researcher's work for use in grant application, tenure, promotion, and performance reviews. Author metrics are also used to discover key researchers in that particular field and track the work of the colleagues and identify the potential collaborators for collaboration of research works in multicentric projects. One of the biggest challenge for tracking and analyzing on authors' impact is having a correct complete publication list of the authors. And here is a schematic presentation of an author matrix which is based on alt matrix and citation matrix. The alt matrix is compiled by Academia Edu, ResearchGate and alt matrix. Alt matrix will just put a separate video, and at present we'll just focus only on citation matrix. In the citation matrix, the data from the Scopus, Web of Science and the Google Scholar are all used to calculate for the H index. Scopus communicates with the ORCID, Web of Science communicates with the researcher ID, whereas the Google Scholar deals with the author's My Citations. And using all this citation details from these three databases, the H index will be calculated separately. First we'll see about the H index. The H index was developed by J.E. Hirsch and published in the Proceedings, National Academy of Science of the United States of America in the year 2005. It is based on the set of researchers' most cited papers and the number of citations they have received in other publication. To put it in a simplified way, the H index is a number of papers on a list of publication which is ranked in the descending order by the time cited that have n or more citations. H index, for example, if an author has an H index 5, it means 5 of his paper got 5 or more than 5 citations. When you see the advantages and disadvantages of the H index, the advantage is that it allows for direct comparison within the discipline, measures quantity and impact by a single author. Disadvantages of H index includes it does not give an accurate measure for early career researchers. The tools for measuring H index are Scopus, Web of Science and Google Scholar. Each of these databases gives its H index for the authors. Coming on to the example for the H index. The first table you can see here, the author has 5 publications, A1, A2, A3, A4 and A5, and each of his publication citation is given in the other column. Coming on to the next table, the citations are ranked accordingly from the highest citation to the lowest in the descending order, and the ranking is given 1 for the highest citation 21, number 2 ranking for 18, 3 for 12, 4 for 10 and 5 for 4. So this is how the ranking is given depending on the citation which is arranged in the descending order. And now we see this H index definition. The number of papers n on a list of papers ranked in descending order by the times cited that have n or more citations. So here for this author the H index is 4. So when you just compare between the ranking and the citations, always remember the ranking and citation when compared, the citation should be more than the ranking. Here in this case, the citation 10 is more than 4. As you go down, the citation is 4 and the ranking is 5. The citation is less. So we take the citation which is more than the ranking, and that is 10 citations and the ranking is 4. So this author's H index is 4. So various databases gives a H index. Here you can see the Web of Science gives a H index for the author 1 depending on a publication in the Web of Science index journals. Whereas Scopus also gives H index for the same author, the H index is 3. Whereas Google Scholar also gives the H index for the same author, which is 5. So like this, each databases gives H index for the authors. Coming on to the G index. G index is an author level metric suggested in 2006 by Leo Ege in his paper Theory and Practice of the G index. It is an improvement of the H index. The G index is calculated using a set of articles which is ranked in descending order of the number of citations that they received. The G index is the largest number such that the top G articles receives at least G square citations. We'll see an example for the G index. Before that, we'll see advantages and disadvantages of the G index. When you see the advantages of the G index, it accounts for the performance of authors' top articles, helps to make more apparent the difference between the author's respective impacts. The inflated values of the G index helps to give credit to low cited or non-cited papers. The disadvantage of G index, it's introduced in 2006 and the debate still continues whether G index is superior to H index, and it might not be widely accepted as H index. Coming on to the example for G index. So the same example of the same author is taken here for the calculation of G index, where you can see the publication, citations, and the ranking and citations, which is arranged in the descending order. So when you see the G index, for calculation of the G index, we just add up the citation sum as well as the ranking square. So in the third table, you can see the citation sum. So the first citation is 21 and the second citation is 18, which is added to 39, and 39 is added to the third citation, that is 12, which is 51. So like that, the citation is added and the citation sum is included in the table. Likewise, the ranking square is also taken. 1, the first ranking, 1 square is 1, 2 square is 4, 3 square 9, and the 4 square is 16, 5 square 25. So likewise, the ranking square is also taken. Now when you compare this citation sum with the ranking, so your citation sum should be more than the ranking, that is G square citations. So here ranking square is nothing but the G square citations. So when you see the G index of this particular author, it is 5 because citation sum 65 and the ranking is 25. So the citation sum is more than the ranking. So here the author's G index is 5, which is taken from the ranking. Now let us see about the i10 index. This i10 index was introduced in July 2011 by Google as a part of their work on Google Scholar. The i10 index is a simple measurement which shows how many of the author's paper have 10 or more citations. i10 index, to put it in a simplified way, it is nothing but the number of publications with at least 10 citations. If an author has the 10 index of 2, it means that 2 of his research paper has 10 or more than 10 citations each. And this very simple measure only used by Google Scholar and it is not used in other databases, and is another way to help gauge the productivity of a scholar. The advantage of this i10 index is very simple and straightforward to calculate, and my citation in Google Scholar is free and also easy to use. The disadvantages of i10 index is it is used only in Google Scholar. Now let us see an example of this i10 index. The same 5 publications of an author is taken here and the citation is also included in the table. So when you see here, the number of publication with at least 10 or more than 10 citations are counted as i10 index. So when you count down here, I'm just rearranging the table depending on the citation from highest to the lowest. So the first paper has 21 citation, the second paper has 18 citation, third paper has 12, and the fourth paper has 10, and the fifth one has only 4. So here the author's i10 index is 4 because 4 of the author's paper has 10 or more than 10 citation. So his i10 index is taken as 4. So you can see the Google Scholar which gives the i10 index of an author. So here in the example, the i10 index of that author is 1, which means that one of his research paper has more than 10 citations. Coming on to i20 index, it is the total number of paper published with at least 20 citation, the same example we are quoting here. And when you check in the citation, one of the author paper has 21 citations, whereas the rest of all the other papers has only less than 20 citations. So here the i20 index of this author is 21 citation, so it is 1 1. So i20 index is 1 because only one paper of this author has 20 or more than 20 citations. Coming on to this M index. The M index is defined as the H index divided by the number of years elapsed since the first paper published of a scientist in order to compare the scientist regardless of time of publishing. So here the M index, or so called the M quotient, is calculated using the formula H index divided by the total number of years of the author first publication. When you see in the table, the author publication is given along with the years. The author has started his first publication in 2015 and the H index of the author is 4. So the 4 divided by the H index 4 divided by the total number of years of his first publication is 5. So 4 divided by 5 is equal to 0.8. The M index of this particular author is 0.8, and this is how the M index is calculated. Coming on to the E index. E index is proposed by Chung Ting Zhang in his paper The E index complementing the H index for excess citation in the year 2009. E index is nothing but the square root of the surplus citation in the H set beyond H square. So that is beyond the theoretical minimum required to obtain a H index. So it is calculated using the formula given by Zhang. E is equal to square root of SH minus H square, where SH is a total citation received by the H papers of a researcher and the H is nothing but the H index. So we just take an example. So one of the author paper has 100 citation. So his H index is 1 and the SH total citation received by his one paper is 100. So 100 minus 1 square to the square root. 1 square is 1. So 100 minus 1 is 99. So 99 square root gives you the value of 9.95. And this is the E index of the author. So that is how E index is calculated. Actually, the aim of the E index is to differentiate between scientists with similar H indices but different citation patterns. So that is how the E index has come into the picture. So now let us see an example for E index. So here the H index for the same author is 4 and you can see the formula used to calculate it. So the H index 4 ranking paper has 10 citation. The 10 is taken as SH and substituted in the formula. SH is 10 and the H index is 4. It is a 4 square. So when you calculate 10 minus 16, it comes to the square root of 6, which is equal to 2.45. The E index of this particular author is 2.45. And next we move on to a comparison table of the metrics among 3 researchers. Here in the table you can see researcher 1, researcher 2 and researcher 3. So when you see the researcher 1, researcher 2 and the researcher 3, the first column gives you the year of the publications, and the second column gives you the citations, and the third column gives you the sum of cites. Similarly, for all the 3 years it is tabulated. And whereas in the first column you can see the publication ranking is also given depending on the highest to the lowest citation, and the last column gives a square of the ranking, which is R square or G square. Now coming on to the H index. So when you see the H index of the researcher 1, it is 4. So remember, the citation should be less, the citation should be more than the publication rank. So here in this researcher 1, the citation is 10, which is more than the ranking, which is 4. So the H index for this researcher 1 is 4. Similarly, for the researcher 2, the citation is 5 and the ranking is 5. So his H index is taken as 5. For the researcher 3 also, the citation is 5 and the H index is, ranking is 5. So his H index is also taken as 5. So always remember, the citation should be more than the ranking, and that is taken as H index. Coming on to the i10 index, i10 index is nothing but the author having 10 or more than 10 citations for his papers. Here in the first researcher, 4 of the researcher paper has 10 and more than 10 citations. So we take his i10 index as 4. Similarly, for the second researcher also, the i10 index is 4 because 4 of his publication has 10 or more than 10 citations. Coming on to the third researcher, the third researcher i10 index is nil because none of his papers has 10 or more than 10 citations. Coming on to i20 index. The i20 index for the first author is only 1 because only one of his paper has 21 citations. Whereas for the second author, the i20 index is 2 because 2 of his papers has more than 20 citation. First paper has 34 and the second paper has 25. So his i20 index is 2. Coming on to the researcher 3, the researcher 3 has none of his paper having more than 20 citations. So his i20 index is 0 or nil. Then we'll see about the G index. When you see the G index, it has to be compared, the sum of cites has to be compared with the square of the ranking. So always remember, the sum of cites should be more than the square of ranking. Here for the first researcher, the sum of cites is 66 and his ranking is 25. So his G index is 5. Whereas for the second researcher also same, the sum of cites is 92 and his ranking is 25. Square of ranking is 25. So his G index is also 5. Coming on to the third author, his sum of cites is 33 and the square ranking is 25, which is more, the sum of cites is more than the square of ranking. So his H index is taken as 5. So all these 3 authors or the 3 researchers, G index is considered as 5. So always remember, for G index, the sum of cites is compared to that of square of rank. The sum of cites should be more than the square of rank. Coming on to the E index is calculated using the formula which I have explained in the previous slide. So the first author E index, when it is calculated, it is 2.45. The second researcher or the author's E index is 4.47. Similarly, the third researcher's E index is also 4.47, which is calculated using the formula SH minus H square to the square root. There is another indices which is growing up, that is popularity indices. This popularity indices, it evaluates the publications and authors on the basis of number of non-repetitive citing authors. The number of other authors of citing scientific papers that cite the paper of a given author. In this, popularity indexes is mainly deals with the repetition of citing the same paper by the same author are not taken into count, because repetition do not raises the real popularity of the paper. That is how the popularity index is more common and more important also. The frequent citation of the same paper by the same author raises its impact factor as well as the H index, so but not the popularity index. There are various popularity indices which includes publication popularity index, author popularity index, and journal popularity index, which is JP index. If it is pertaining to factor, we call it as journal popularity factor. If you are interested more on this popularity indexes, you can refer to this publication by Adrian on P index, that is popularity index. There are also other indices which is taken in author metrics. They are not in practice, but still the theory was proposed for all these indices. That is C index. The C index considers the quality of citation in terms of the collaboration distance between the citing and the cited papers. So it mainly pertains to the collaboration distance. Whereas the S index accounts for the non-entropic distribution of citations. So these are the other two indices. Coming on to the final part of the video, where you have to remember certain facts for the author metrics and how these indices are calculated. So remember that there are three common indices: H index, G index and i10 index, which is commonly used, whereas the other indices are M index, E index, C and S index, which are getting popularized in other countries. Now when you see the H index is calculated from the rank and the citation. So remember that the rank and the citation is compared. The citation should be either equal or more, that is taken as a H index. That ranking is taken as a H index. So H index, when compared between the citation and the ranking, the citation should be equal or more. That particular ranking is taken as H index. Similarly for G index, it is also compared between the ranking and the citation, but here the sum of citation should be equal or more than the square of citations. So that ranking is taken as G index. i10 index, number of papers having more than 10 citations is taken as i10 index. In case of i20, number of papers having more than 20 citations is taken as i20. Coming on to M index, it's calculated using the formula H index to the divided by the total number of years from the first publication of the author. E index, it is a citation in the H set beyond H square. C index is it's an index pertaining to the collaboration distance of the collaborators of the author, cited and the researcher. S index is a non-entropic distribution of citations. So these are the important facts which you have to remember for indices. So thank you all so much for watching my video. Never miss a video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like the video and share with your friends. Here you can see a picture which portraying a scientist struggling and requesting for the papers to be cited. So always remember, when your papers are standard, you need not to beg for the citations. Automatically your papers will be cited. So whenever you do a research, you keep your research up to the standard. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.